Another Minecraft content creator turns out to be a terrible person. This time it's GeorgeNotFound, and his situation is very similar to Wilbur Soot's situation because I guess him and Wilbur are like Kobe and Shaq when it comes to being abusers and sexual assaulters, because this situation is regarding GeorgeNotFound and him sexually assaulting someone. I really don't know what it is, but there is actually a correlation between successful Minecraft creators and them being terrible people. I don't know why it exists, but it's a correlation that definitely needs to be studied. And when it comes to situations like this, I don't like to do a whole lot of talking in terms of the story because it's not my story to tell, it's their story, and they need to be the one to tell it. I just like to post about it to spread awareness and get it out there for more people to hear, because if they're brave enough to talk about it, people need to hear it.
I want to start this by saying I wouldn't be here without Shelby. I was ready to disappear with this secret forever. I never knew that creators were allowed to talk about these kinds of things, and I guess I'm still new to it all. I just didn't feel brave enough, and I still don't. But her strength made me feel like it may be okay.
So she sought Shelby as her inspiration, what gave her confidence to talk about this situation. Seeing her be strong enough to tell her story regarding Wilbur Soot, it made her realize that she should also talk about her situation and her story, because it's something that needs to be heard. Because monsters should not be allowed to hide in the darkness where they thrive. They need to be exposed to the light.
A little while ago, my story had almost been leaked without me knowing. So here it is on my terms. Here's my story. Last year, at the beginning of summer, I was assaulted by a significantly older and popular content creator. I was freshly 18 and had just graduated high school a few weeks prior. I was drunk in a hotel room with other people around me when it happened. He was someone I had once watched, and he was 8 years older than me, and far more powerful.
So as she's explaining here, this whole situation took place at a convention. The person she's referencing is GeorgeNotFound, and it's all regarding, it always really revolves around the power dynamic. And I can't really say for sure what it is that makes these sick people tick, but as she said, she was freshly 18 at the time, and this dude is 8 years older than her. George is 27 at the current moment, but he was around like 26 when this happened, and it makes the whole thing just much more disgusting.
The full story is quite short. It was at a convention in a hotel room. It was my first convention I was invited to, so I stuck by one of my best friends the entire time. I was nervous but excited about it all and felt really grown up. One night we were at a house party when we decided to leave. It was me, my best friend, and her other friend. This other friend was romantically talking to a really big creator at the time. He was also the best friend of my soon-to-be assaulter. She wanted to go back to his hotel room, but didn't want to go alone, so we went with her. I didn't really mind, as I was up for anything. When we got to the hotel room, it was the creator, the girl was talking to, and his best friend. The two of them and the three of us. Not much happened that first night, just some drinking and talking at a table. The guy's friend had been passing flirts at me the entire night, but because he was the oldest in the room, we assumed he didn't know my age. Later that night, when I left, I received Instagram DMs from him, and in my Instagram bio, in bold, was my age, 18, confirming he knew how old I was.
And that's the first indication that George was just being a literal piece of shit human. He was flirting with this girl at the little party, the little get-together with his friends and whatnot. I'm assuming it's like the dream team people, and then her friend that she went with. And you could excuse that, much like he said, if he just flirted with her that night and that was that. But the fact he found her Instagram, pursued it even further, and she has her age bold in her bio, and the dude is 26 at this time. I have a feeling that George is the type of scumbag that, since he's got a taste of fame and what it feels like to have people worship you and literally idolize you, probably pray to you, because the Minecraft fan base is insane, that he thinks he can just get anything he wants and take anything he wants if he can't get it willingly.
A few days passed when I found myself in the same situation. Us three were at a party when it got boring, and whether the girl wanted to leave and go to his room, or he asked us to, I cannot remember. Once again, I was drunker than the night before and was willing to go anywhere. I was naive, and so we went back. I remember a friend seeing me in the lobby on the way. They were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling, like they could sense something was wrong, and I wondered what would have happened if I had picked up on it, and if I wasn't drunk, and if I didn't wave it off. But I don't want to dwell on the what-ifs. That night, I went up to his room. Back at the hotel room again were the two friends and us three girls. At the time, all of us girls were already really drunk from the party we were coming from, stumbling and everything.
And I want to pause real quick here and just show you something that made me feel sick about this whole situation. Comments from when she posted this and when it was uploaded about her story, her terrible situation that she went through and was strong enough to talk about. And these people were commenting, just doing everything they possibly can to try to support and get the back of someone who is an actual scumbag. And that last comment just truly irks me to my core, because I've seen comments like this in other situations that have similar aspects, and it's such a brain dead take. Are you fucking stupid, Sammy? Do you have donkey brains? Are you capable of forming a thought without someone giving it to you, without Twitter telling you what to think? How are you going to sit here and fucking victim blame someone who just turned 18, wants to hang out with people they perceive as cool? Obviously, there's a power dynamic here. How are you just going to sit here and victim blame someone who has went through something so terrible and make it seem like George isn't in the wrong here? Like, you're sucking him off so hard. We got a pro meat rotter here, guys. Someone trying to victim blame someone who was taken advantage of in the form of being given alcohol by someone illegally. By the way, that was illegal what he did. He supplied alcohol to a minor, and then also proceeding to try to take advantage of her after she was drunk. And then you're going to sit here and say that why is she drunk in a hotel room at 18 years old?
There was more alcohol in the room, and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us. They said they would join us in drinking and insisted on drinking games, and, already drunk, I obviously complied. We sat on the couch and answered questions about each other, drinking a bunch, and the older guy sat right next to me while playing. I confused my nerves for excitement, as I had never been around such a big creator before.
And the fact that they were encouraging her to drink more and participate in these drinking games, knowing that she was freshly 18, as she said, and as she had in her Instagram bio, to which he DM'd her on, it just makes all this even worse, and just even more so hard for someone to defend George, because it's undoubtedly, it's like looking at it's like blinking signs pointing at him, saying this guy is just a piece of garbage.
I remember getting drunker and drunker and really tired around this time. It was about 3 a.m. Right before the incident, I had answered a question about my age. We were playing a drinking game and talking about sex. And I admitted to everyone in the room that I was 18 and that I was a virgin at the time. I remember back now to him answering questions during the game about back when he was 19 and when he was in college, noticing how my future was his past, and I wondered how he felt sitting so close to me. It was a little after that when I had resorted to playing games on my phone when it happened. Out of nowhere, I felt him slip his hand under my clothes, sitting next to me on the couch in front of everyone. He disguised it with a simple, "Are you ticklish?" I coughed out a no, still staring at my phone. I was overly aware of the fact that we were in front of other people, the fact that everyone else was sitting around us, watching us, including my best friend, and that his hand was inching further to places I hadn't asked for it to be. He made a game out of my embarrassment, where he would touch me in certain areas to make me lose the phone game I was playing. I was scared, and I felt sick, either from the alcohol or from his touch.
It just gets worse and worse, and it's just, the more you think about it, and the more she tells her story here, the more it just fills me with rage that stuff like this even happens in the first place. And then the fact that he just started trying to very inappropriately touch her without even like trying to get any semblance of consent, knowing that she was very, very drunk, because if you're drunk, you can't consent. That's how I see that. And the fact that he kept going with it, trying to disguise it as playful tickling. You don't stick your hand in someone's no-no square to try to tickle them. And then on top of that, the friends are also terrible people, doing nothing to make sure that she was good, to make sure that this is what she was okay with, and if she wanted to leave or wanted to get someone to stop him, no one even seemed to care. They just watched it happen. No one spoke up. Everyone was just willing to be witnesses, which is just, it's sickening.
I didn't speak or move. I remember being afraid to even breathe. I stayed there for a while, hoping my stillness could make me disappear. I eventually had to stand up after many minutes for it to stop. I was scared to leave or make a scene out of the embarrassment. Eventually, later in the night, I found myself alone with him and his friend. Everyone else either passed out or sick. I dread the scenarios that could have played out that night, the what-ifs. I was just so naive, and lucky or not, the night came to an end with just that. The night lasted until 6 a.m. I was still drunk, either from alcohol or tiredness. I went to leave, and the older guy decided to leave with me. We walked to the elevators, where I didn't get on. He then pretended that the elevator was broken, and that he couldn't leave, telling me to get in the elevator to prove it was broken. And then after a few minutes, he ended the night with a "guess I'm going now," leaving with a wounded puppy look.
I hated hearing that part, hearing that he walked away with a hurt puppy dog look on his face after she didn't want to pursue things further or be around him anymore at all. God, you can just imagine it, and you can think about the way he's acting, and him just trying to maybe guilt trip her into feeling bad and going with him or whatever he was trying to do. It's just so, my God, it just even further plays into him being a manipulative piece of filth. And no one should ever have to go through anything like this. And it's because of people like Shelby and Katie Bugs speaking out, being strong enough to tell their stories. And it's the reason that other people who are victims are also able to tell their own stories and actually make these people who do these terrible, awful things face some consequences. But consequences may not be enough sometimes, because what are even consequences to someone that has no guilty conscience? Someone who doesn't think that what they done was wrong. And I stole that line, by the way, from her. She says it later on. I'm not going to show any more of this stream here. You should go watch the whole thing for herself. She wrote like in her diary, she says, at the time that it happened, when it was more fresh, the situation, she said, what are consequences to someone who has no conscience? And I think that's just a very good way of putting it. You know, someone like this obviously doesn't have a conscience, or they wouldn't be doing deplorable shit like this. So what even are consequences to someone that's like that? But nonetheless, consequences are what he deserves, and like I said, that's all I'm going to show of that. I'm going to move on now to George's tweet that he put out about this situation, saying, "I will be doing a very serious stream later today. This post is just to make that clear. I'm gathering all the information and evidence to share. I have never and would never break someone's sexual boundaries or assault anyone." And even Lil Tay hopped in the comment section and called him disgusting. And it begs the question, what the hell is he going to have? What evidence and what information is he going to have to share that's going to prove that he would never and has never broken someone's sexual boundaries or assaulted someone? There's just absolutely no way anything he has to share will make this proven that it was consensual. One, she never said yes. She makes that blatantly obvious that she never said yes to this. She says that she didn't say anything, but saying nothing doesn't mean yes. And on top of that, he was the one that supplied her with alcohol and got her drunk to a point where she couldn't have made any rational decisions. And on top of that, like I said previously, when you're drunk, you can't consent in the first place. And also, it's worth mentioning that he hasn't posted anything since then. It's been almost a whole entire day. It's like 2 hours exactly off of being a whole day. 2 hours and a minute at this point of me recording this. And he said he was going to stream later that day. Which begs the question, where the fuck's the stream, George? The last time you streamed was 2 weeks ago. So what the fuck's up, George? Come on. Thought you had all this evidence that you were going to share to prove that you never assaulted someone or crossed sexual boundaries. And I was actually holding off on making this video until he posted that so I could also talk about that in the video. But it looks much like a dream situation in the sense that he has very serious things against him and he's just acting like he's going to say something, address it, and talk about it, but he's not going to. I just want to say that it's for Katie Bugs. All credit to her. Please support her. And also, she brings it up in her stream. So I can't stop burping. She brings it up in her stream. She says that one of the reasons that she didn't speak out, much like other people who have faced similar circumstances, is that she didn't want to be seen as someone who is a victim of XYZ, a victim of famous person. And that's definitely a shitty thing to be. They're their own individual, and that's another reason why some people don't speak out. If you're questioning, wondering why she waited until now to talk about it, that's a very prominent reason. Who just wants to be known as someone who was taken advantage of by someone more famous, a famous popular figure, and then always forever be associated with someone that you hate and despise so much? Anyways, that's pretty much it for this whole situation. I wish the best for Katie Bugs and her endeavors, whatever she decides to do. If she decides to pursue content creation even further, whatever she does, wish her the best. And as for George, I hope he rots in hell. I actually hope that he has nothing good ever happen to him again. I hope that everything he does has some negative consequence on himself, and he forever is just in an endless cycle of torment, despair, and misery for all in all of eternity. I actually wish he was Sisyphus. And man, I really truly don't know what it is with Minecraft content creators and them just becoming terrible people once they get a sense of notoriety, once they become successful on a platform. They just genuinely turn into sleazeballs. Or maybe they always were just sleazeballs, and now they actually have the power to act on their terrible, twisted desires. But other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.